The massive doors groaned as they sealed behind them, the sound reverberating like a judge's gavel condemning them to fate unknown. The torchlight flickered, struggling against the abyssal darkness that stretched ahead like an open maw. The air was thick, wrong, as if the walls themselves breathed with unseen life. Relina pressed forward, every step deliberate, her senses sharp. She had walked into danger before, into nests of the undead, where the air itself was poisoned with decay, and shadows harbored death. But this was different. This place wasn't just home to something sinister, it was something sinister. Quimby followed, his footsteps light but hesitant. He had said little since Veymar's revelation, and that silence gnawed at her. She didn't have time to press him for answers, not with the vampire lord leading them deeper into his lair like a spider guiding prey into its web. Veymar moved with unhurried grace, his long coat whispering against the stone floor.
"Do you feel it, Hunter? The weight of this place?"
His voice was silk woven with menace. She ignored him, her focus on the corridor. The walls, carved from ancient stone, were etched with symbols, older than the church's markings. Dark sigils, pulsating with a sinister aura, lined the passageway, stretching into the void ahead.
Familiar, aren't they?
What is this place?
A sanctuary, a tomb, a birthplace. It has been called many things by those who fail to understand it.
And what do you call it?
Veymar glanced back at him, smiling.
Home.
The torches ahead flickered, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. The air grew colder. The passageway widened into a chamber, vast, domed, and alive with a presence Relina couldn't name. Pillars of black stone stretched toward the ceiling, wrapped in vines that pulsed like veins. A pit yawned open in the center, wide enough to swallow a dozen men, its depths vanishing into an abyss untouched by light. A single altar stood at the pit's edge. Bloodstains marred its surface, old and dark. The scent long faded, but never truly gone. A sacrificial sight. Quimby let out a low whistle.
Right. Well, this is lovely.
Relina barely heard him. Her focus remained on Veymar, who now stood at the pit's edge, gazing down into the void, as though listening to something call from below.
Many have been offered here, some willingly, others less so. And yet, the pit always hungers.
He murmured, more to himself than to them. He turned back to them. Relina's patience snapped.
Enough with the theatrics. Why are we here?
Veymar sighed, as if disappointed by her lack of appreciation.
Because, my dear Hunter, I intend to show you the truth.
He gestured toward Quimby.
Your friend understands it already. That's why he came.
Relina turned sharply to Quimby.
Enough dodging, Quimby. Talk, now.
The halfling's shoulders slumped. His usual carefree demeanor was stripped away, leaving behind something raw.
I was looking for something important.
Relina's eyes narrowed.
Something or someone.
Quimby hesitated while Veymar's smile widened. Relina's stomach twisted.
Quimby, who are you looking for?
Friend.
The halfling clenched his fists. Relina exhaled sharply.
Don't play games with me. Who?
Quimby's deep blue eyes finally met hers. There was something haunted in them.
A friend who went missing. Months ago. They were hunting a vampire. They never came back.
Relina felt a cold weight settle in her chest.
And you thought it was him?
She gestured to Veymar. Quimby nodded.
I followed the trail. It led here. And then I got caught.
Veymar let out a soft chuckle.
Oh, it was no accident that he found me.
Relina turned to him.
What do you mean?
The vampire's expression darkened, his amusement thinning.
I mean that his friend was never hunting just a vampire.
His gaze flicked toward Quimby, lips curving into something almost cruel.
Your friend was hunting me.
Quimby visibly paled. Relina's grip on her sword tightened.
And
Veymar stepped closer, eyes locked onto hers.
And they failed.
The chamber grew impossibly quiet. Quimby didn't move, didn't speak. Relina felt something hot burn beneath her skin. She turned to Quimby.
what aren't you telling me?
The halfling looked away. Veymar chuckled.
He already knows the truth, Hunter. The real question is, do you want to?
A sudden gust of wind extinguished the torches. Darkness swallowed the room. And then a scream echoed from below. Not human, something else, something hungry. The shadows moved. The torches had been snuffed out by the unnatural wind, plunging the chamber into suffocating darkness. But Relina didn't need light to know she was in danger. The air itself had changed, growing heavier, colder, alive with something ancient and hungry. A shriek tore through the blackness. It was wrong. Something unnatural, neither holy beast nor human. The sound carried a primal malice, reverberating through the cavernous space like a death knell. Relina strained against the bindings at her wrists, the rough rope biting into her skin. She had no idea what lurked beyond the veil of darkness, but she knew she had to move. Being restrained in the presence of an enemy, especially one as cunning as Veymar, was a death sentence. A rustle of movement. A slow, deliberate step, then another, then another. Something was in the room with them. Something else. A cold whisper of breath ghosted over her neck, and instinct took over. She twisted violently, yanking against the ropes with everything she had, her muscles straining in defiance. A chuckle, low, mocking. Veymar.
You feel it now, don't you?
His voice slithered through the dark, smooth as silk, but tainted with amusement.
The abyss is waking.
Let me loose, and I'll show you who wakes up in a grave.
Relina spat, her voice sharp, defiant.
You still think this is your hunt, don't you? How quaint.
A flicker of light returned, a dim, eerie glow emanating from the pit. Not from flame, but something more sinister. The altar at its edge was now bathed in an eerie red shimmer, illuminating Veymar's tall frame. His golden eyes gleamed like a predator's in the dark, but it wasn't him she was watching. It was what was rising from the pit. A hand, long gnarled fingers with nails like onyx daggers clawed at the stone. The arm that followed was grotesque, thin yet sinewy. The skin stretched tight like old parchment over bones too sharp to be human. A second hand joined the first, followed by a face that should not exist. It was vampiric, but wrong. The creature dragged itself upward, its body wrapped in tattered remnants of noble finery, robes long decayed and embroidered with sigils that mirrored those on the walls. Its flesh was pale, deathly pale, but marred with deep, jagged cracks, as though something had tried to carve its soul from its body. The mouth was too wide, filled with blackened fangs that did not belong in any mortal's jaw, and its eyes, hollow, dark pits, held a hunger that even Veymar's elegance could not mask.
Ah, there you are.
Veymar breathed, as though greeting an old friend. The creature moved, not a stagger, not a crawl. It lunged. Veymar didn't flinch. Instead, he raised a hand, and the monster halted just inches from him.
Not yet.
Veymar murmured, his voice edged with authority. The beast shuddered, its frame convulsing as though resisting an invisible leash, but Veymar's will was absolute. Relina's mind worked furiously, piecing together the puzzle before her. This thing, this ancient, was bound to Veymar in some way, not as a servant, but as something worse, a pawn.
You control it, it's your creature,
she said, realization settling in. Veymar turned to her with a sly smile.
Control? No, dear Hunter. I merely guide it.
The monster snapped its head toward her at the word hunter, its jaws parting just slightly, recognizing the title. Veymar noticed. He exhaled softly, almost tiredly.
You see, the problem with you hunters is that you believe all vampires are the same. But the true horror of undeath is how deep it runs.
He crouched beside the creature, placing a hand atop its bald, cracked head like one would a loyal hound.
Once, this had a name, a legacy, a purpose. He was feared in life and worshipped in undeath. And yet, what is he now? A relic, a reminder that time is the one master even we must obey.
Veymar finished softly. Relina's heart hammered. The sigils, the pit, the bloodstains. This wasn't just a sacrificial site. This was a prison. The creature had been bound here, and Veymar had freed it.
Why? What do you gain by letting this thing loose?
Balance. A new world demands new kings.
Then, without warning, he stepped back. The beast's restraints shattered. It launched itself toward Relina. The ropes at her wrists snapped. She moved. Pure instinct. Relina dove to the side as claws raked the air where she had just been. The monster hit the stone where she had knelt, its strength enough to crack the ground. Quimby yelped, tumbling sideways just as the ropes around his hands loosened. Relina rolled, coming up to her feet just as the creature turned toward her, its hollow gaze locking onto hers. Veymar's laughter echoed around them.
Show me, hunter. Show me if you are worthy to stand among us.
The monster lunged again. Relina drew her sword, and the battle began. The beast lunged with horrifying speed, its clawed hands reaching for Relina like a harbinger of death itself. Instinct drove her reaction. She twisted, narrowly avoiding the strike, her boots skidding on the cold stone floor. The sheer force of the attack sent loose debris scattering across the chamber, the echoes of crumbling stone reverberating like a death knell. She had fought vampires before. She had slain monsters lurking in the darkness. But this thing, this ancient, broken revenant, was something else entirely. It moved not with the fluid grace of a vampire, but with the raw, jerking brutality of a corpse that had forgotten it was dead. Think, Relina. But it didn't bleed, it shuddered. The wound cracked open, revealing not flesh, but something darker, something wrong, writhing beneath its rotting skin like living shadow. A low, guttural sound emanated from its throat, almost a laugh. Relina didn't hesitate. She pivoted, bringing her blade around for a second strike. This time, she aimed for its neck. If it wouldn't bleed, she would sever its head. The moment the steel bit into its flesh, the monster caught her sword. Clawed fingers wrapped around the blade, stopping its deadly arc mid-swing. The pressure it exerted was inhuman. Metal groaned under the force of its grip, and for a split second, Relina thought it might snap her weapon in two. Then it threw her. She was airborne. Before she even registered what had happened, the world tilted, her stomach lurching as she slammed against the hard stone floor, her breath torn from her lungs. Pain exploded through her ribs, but she didn't have the luxury of weakness. She rolled onto her hands and knees just in time to see the creature bearing down on her again. But before it could reach her, something unexpected happened. Quimby. The halfling had managed to free himself in the chaos. His small frame darted between the monster and Relina, his fingers moving in a rapid, intricate pattern.
Radiant damnation, begone!
A pulse of divine light erupted from his hands, striking the creature directly in the chest. It reeled back, screeching as the holy energy seared through its form. Smoke curled from the wounds where the magic touched it, its flesh cracking further like aged parchment. Quimby turned his head slightly toward Relina, panting.
I think I made it mad.
The monster screamed, a sound that was both a howl of fury and something older, something filled with rage that had been buried for centuries. Veymar, watching from the shadows, laughed.
Oh, my dear halfling, you've only wounded its pride.
Relina forced herself to her feet. She had no time to recover. If they hesitated for even a moment, this thing would kill them both.
Quimby, distract it. Don't let it touch you.
You don't say.
Quimby quipped, already darting sideways, keeping his distance. His hands flickered with divine energy. Another spell prepared at his fingertips. The beast lunged again, this time toward Quimby. Relina moved. She didn't think. She acted. Her blade struck just as the monster's claws swiped for the halfling, knocking its arm off course. Quimby twisted away just in time, narrowly avoiding the lethal strike. The monster staggered, but it wasn't finished. It turned its hollow, soulless gaze on Relina, and for the first time, it spoke. A voice like a grave being opened, deep and hollow.
Hunter, your blood, it calls to me.
Her pulse thundered. It knew her, not just as prey, not just as a threat, but her. Veymar watched the exchange with a knowing smirk, arms folded across his chest.
You feel it now, don't you? The echoes of something older than either of us.
Relina kept her blade steady.
You really do talk too much without making any damn sense.
She lunged forward, swinging again, aiming for the head. This time, she was ready. The creature moved to catch her blade again, but Relina anticipated it. She twisted the hilt at the last second, driving the edge into the junction between its collarbone and neck. The steel sank deep. The monster shrieked. Its clawed hands flailed wildly, but Relina was already moving again, yanking her blade free and driving a boot into its chest to knock it back. It stumbled, barely able to keep itself upright. For the first time since it emerged from the pit, it looked weak. Veymar sighed dramatically.
Such a shame. I had hoped it would last longer.
The monster turned toward him, its form trembling as if awaiting a command. Veymar merely tilted his head.
Return to the pit.
The creature collapsed. The ground beneath them trembled as the force that had been holding it together unraveled. Its body shriveled, flesh crumbling into dust as whatever magic sustained it vanished. Within moments, nothing remained but a blackened stain on the stone floor. Relina kept her sword raised, heart still pounding. Quimby exhaled, lowering his hands.
Oh, well, that wasn't so bad.
I'm glad you think so.
Veymar chuckled. Something shifted. Before either of them could react, the stone floor beneath them lurched. The runes carved into the ground flared with crimson light, the pit pulling at them as if reality itself was being sucked downward. Veymar simply smiled.
You were never meant to walk away from this, hunters. But don't worry. You'll find the next stage of the game quite enlightening.
The ground gave way. Relina's body plunged into darkness. The last thing she heard was Quimby's startled yelp and Veymar's voice echoing with wicked amusement.
Welcome to the depths.